Welcome to the Connecticut 2006 debate for the U.S. Senate. Today's debate is sponsored by the Advocate Greenwich Time, the Business Council of Fairfield County, the Fairfield County Bar Association, the local leagues of women voters, the National Association of Industrial and Office Properties, NBC 30 News, and News 12 Connecticut. And in the little time we have left, let me introduce our panelists to you. Joy Hainline is with the Advocate Greenwich Time, Tom Monahan is with NBC 30 News, and Steve Kochko is with the Connecticut Radio Network. By the way, our timers are with the League of Women Voters. Our participants today are Alan Schlesinger, the Republican candidate, Joe Lieberman, the Connecticut 4th Lieberman candidate, and Ned Lamont, the Democratic candidate. This is a cumulative time debate format, and that means the candidates will have a total of 17 minutes to use as they see fit. There will be no opening statements, however, there will be 2-minute closing statements for each candidate. The order of the questioning, the responding, and the closing statements was determined by drawing lots prior to the debate. So, let's begin. Our first question being asked by Joy Hainline for Mr. Schlesinger.
Mr. Schlesinger, Senator Lieberman is one of several politicians to observe that this is one of the most bitter and partisan election seasons in memory. What dynamics do you see at work this year?
Well, I think what's been at work is basically a spin, all different driven, some of it driven by the Washington media, to take this election away from the people of Connecticut. This election is about our voice for the next 6 years. I believe, in all due respect to some of the media out there, and all due respect to my opponents, they haven't talked about so many of the issues that are facing the families of Connecticut. I'm going to try to bring that back home, bring it back here to Connecticut, because there's a lot more to Connecticut and the United States and our future than just the Iraq War.
Mr. Lieberman, would you like to comment on that question?
I would. I thank all those who have put together to sponsor this debate. I thank Joy for the question. I'd like to use a moment or two in approaching the question to set this debate in context. Let me first say what a thrill it is to be in this city for this debate. This is the city where I was born and raised. It is the city where my parents, my teachers, my rabbis taught me the value of hard work, of education, of the difference between right and wrong, and gave me the confidence to be optimistic that anything was possible if you worked hard enough in this country. In the years since then, I've lived out my own version of the American dream. There are a lot of people who think that the American dream is dimming today, that our country is heading in the wrong direction. And a lot of people also think, and I agree with them, that part of the problem is the way our government conducts itself in Washington. The government is broken, gridlocked by partisanship. Too many people there who see every issue through the prism of the party instead of through the prism of how can I make progress for the people who are good enough to send me to Washington. I'm fed up with the partisanship and the bitterness in our politics. There's too much personal hatred. I've spent the better part of the 18 years in the Senate working across party lines to get things done for the people of Connecticut. And I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish. Working with Governor Joey Durrell to save a submarine base in London and 31,000 jobs. Working with the entire congressional delegation to clean up Long Island Sound, to make our air purer here. And in Washington, working with John McCain to create the 9/11 Commission and then adopt its recommendations to make America safer in an age of terrorism. I want to take that same willingness and ability and commitment to work across party lines, to break through partisanship, back to Washington, to keep our country safe, to fix our broken healthcare system, to make us energy independent, to make sure that every child has the same access to a quality education at their public school as I did here in the great public school system of Connecticut. And I want to do it also to break across party lines to get America back into some kind of fiscal responsibility. That's what I hope this debate will be about today. But I'm not optimistic about that, because one of my opponents, Ned Lamont, has run, to answer your question, one of the most bitter campaigns in a very bitter and divisive election year. Attack, attack, attack. I'd like to think that we're going to discuss the issues, but if I were still Attorney General, with a responsibility to warn the consumers about something coming in their direction, expect a lot of attacks today. Bring that Lamont on me. Matter of fact, if you have a pencil or a pen, you may want to keep score. And let me just say that if he hits double figures and attacks me 10 or more times in 1 hour, there's going to be free pizza and beer for everybody on net. It's time for us to stop the attacking and bitterness and talk about what we can do together for the people of Connecticut and the people of America. It's time for us to stop looking at ourselves mostly as Democrats or Republicans and start thinking about ourselves as what we most are, citizens of the greatest country in the world, Americans.
Mr. Lamont, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Tom, and Alan, Joe, nice to be here with you both. Good afternoon to everybody. Just follow up with what Senator Lieberman said. You know, this is not a race about Republican or Democrat. It's not a race about left and right. It's a race about right and wrong. And I think right now we have a government in Washington, D.C. that's making a lot of bad decisions right now. I think they're hurting our country, they're hurting the security of our country, and they're not good for the state of Connecticut. And I don't think it's negative to say I'm going to be someone who stands up and fights for Social Security. I believe we have a president, Senator Lieberman's been there alongside, that wants to privatize Social Security and jeopardize security for our seniors. The president's plan would weaken Social Security, would take money out of the funds, and make sure it wasn't there for our seniors. I don't think it's negative to talk about the Cheney energy bill. That's a bill that makes us more dependent upon oil. It does nothing when it comes to energy independence and dealing with the environment in a serious way. And I think it's not negative to say we've got to change course in Iraq. The war in Iraq has been weakened our country at home. It's weakened our country abroad. It's not making us safer. We're not dealing with a real war on terror. These are the issues. I think this is a record. This is a race about the issues. Senator Lieberman has an 18-year record, and I think we ought to talk about the issues of the day.
Thank you, Joe. Does anyone wish to follow up further?
I'll just make one quick comment, and that is they're right that they're not arguing over differences of opinions, because basically I'm running against two very liberal individuals, and on most issues, other than Iraq, I really don't see much difference between my friends, Mr. Lieberman and Mr. Lamont, and I think that's going to become clear as time goes on.